About 99.1 FM.
Burby's 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio. This is the news on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Good day, I'm Kevin Smith with your main newscast. In your headlines today, in absence of national standards on flaring, Exxon follows own rules. AG backs calls for new formula to appoint Chancellor and Chief Justice. $163 million estimated to rebuild burnt wing of Diamond Secondary School. PAHO warns of further COVID-19 wave and says vaccination campaigns must focus on protecting the most vulnerable. ExxonMobil has free reign over Guyana. Opposition calls for independent oversight, and every citizen has a right to challenge injustices, according to Norton, and lodge court cases against ExxonMobil and government. Stay tuned to stay informed.
Nothing in life is free, but the My Digicel app is. You don't need to be on a data plan to use the app. You can conveniently chat with Ruby or an agent for help. Check your account balance, activate a Prime bundle, or gift it to a friend. Send credit. Check the Georgetown and Burby's bridge schedules. Activate a roaming plan. Play Shake to Win for cool prizes. So don't worry about a data plan, buddy. Download the My Digicel app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store today. Digicel, better together.
For the news in detail. Almost 7 years after the discovery of oil, Guyana has yet to put in place standards that govern flaring, a process that entails the burning of natural gas and the subsequent release of toxic chemicals into the atmosphere. In light of this gap in the nation's regulatory framework, ExxonMobil's affiliate, ESSO, follows its own rules. This was specifically noted in the environmental impact assessment for the $10 billion Yellowtail project. ESSO was keen to note that it considered World Bank standards and internal ExxonMobil environmental standards as references on flaring. Expounding further, the company said the World Bank has established environmental, health and safety guidelines for offshore oil and gas development, which is a technical reference document with examples of good environmental practices. The Offshore Oil and Gas Development Guideline states that new facilities should be designed, constructed, and operated so as to avoid routine flaring of associated gas. In other news, as Guyana continues to gain experience in managing the oil sector and with fresh recommendations from the recently concluded International Energy Conference and Expo, the Shadow Oil and Gas Minister David Patterson is again highlighting the importance of the country independently verifying the operations of ExxonMobil, rather than depending on the company for reports of its performance when it comes to compliance with the environmental permits. The former Minister of Public Infrastructure explained that Guyana is presently in a bad shape as it is depending on the developer to report instances of flaring, oil spills, wastewater treatment, and adherence to other aspects of the permit, including resolving complaints it received from the public, all without proper independent oversight. He went on to explain the detriment of Guyana's reliance on the oil company when it comes to such matters. In fact, he urged that the sector's independent monitoring be increased, while adding that the operators must be held accountable. In other news, leader of the PNCR, Aubrey Norton, said he supports any Guyanese who chooses to challenge injustices when they occur. Norton believes that it is in fact the right of every citizen to act if they believe that the laws of the land and the rights of the people are being trampled upon. These comments came when Norton weighed in on ongoing court cases brought on by private citizens against oil operators here. There are currently 4 oil sector-related cases before the court, one of which was recently filed by Norton's APNU plus the APNU-AFC opposition coalition. Norton explained that as a citizen of Guyana and with an interest in the development of the country, every citizen has the right to bring on any legal challenge that seeks to address irregularities. He said in reference to the cases that citizens move to the courts is essentially them standing up for themselves when elected leaders fail to do so. The opposition had opined that where oil and gas is concerned, every citizen should have a vested interest to ensure that all Guyanese benefit from their national patrimony. And moving on. A provision in the Constitution which requires agreement between the President and opposition leader for the substantive appointment of the Chancellor and Chief Justice of Guyana has resulted in deadlock for more than 22 years when it comes to selecting permanent holders of the two top judicial offices. As such, various sections of the legal fraternity have been in support of recommendations towards amending the provision used to appoint these judicial officers. The most recent endorsement came from Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Anil Nandlal. Nandlal reiterated his support for the review and amendment of the provision. His views came hours after President of the Bar Association of Guyana, Pauline Chase, addressed the absence of permanent appointees of the post of Chancellor and Chief Justice at the first in-person opening of the Demerara Criminal Assizes since the COVID-19 pandemic. In her remarks, Chase noted the absence of substantive office holders as an embarrassing state of affairs that needed to be corrected swiftly. In other news, the reconstruction of one of the wings at the Diamond Secondary School, which was destroyed by fire back in 2018, is estimated to cost $163,009,146. This is according to a recent invitation for bids which was issued by the Regional Democratic Council of Region 4, seeking a contractor to now construct a new wing at the school. It is understood that this project will form part of the $6.6 billion that was allocated in this year's budget for the construction, rehabilitation, extension, and maintenance of educational facilities across the country. The Regional Executive Officer of Region 4, Donald Gadraj, said that the wing of the building, which was destroyed, will be rehabilitated to its previous size. At that time, the REO stated that the project would cost $75 million. And coming out of Washington, D.C., as cases of COVID-19 surge in Europe and East Asia due to Omicron BA.2, the Pan American Health Organization Director Carissa Etienne has urged countries to remain vigilant and urgently close vaccination gaps. While COVID cases and deaths have dropped across much of the region, countries have reported more than 620,000 new cases each week. And in parts of North America and the Caribbean, where Omicron is becoming the predominant variant, new infections are beginning to rise. With Omicron BA.2 already detected in 8.7% of sequences reported in South America, the director said, and I quote, "Time and time again, we've seen how the infection dynamics in Europe are mirrored here just a few weeks later." You're listening to Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. This is your news at noon. We will return after the break.
This is GHK Lal inviting you to join me weekdays from Monday to Friday on the National Outlook for commentary on a range of issues. Immediately after the 12 noon and 7 p.m. newscasts on Kaieteur Radio at 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Looking forward to you sharing in the conversation.
Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. Leader of the PNCR, Mr. Aubrey Norton, believes that it is critical for the administration to boost the capacity of the Environmental Protection Agency to ensure that the body plays its critical role in the thriving oil and gas sector. Norton pointed out that while there is a critical need for the monitoring of Guyana's oil resource, the ruling administration has shown little interest in developing the capacity of such agencies to ensure their responsibilities are fulfilled. In fact, he accused the government of undermining resources to these agencies, rendering them paralyzed. The EPA has set out several conditions for the oil company, ExxonMobil, and its partners to adhere to. The strength of these regulations have, however, been questioned as there is little monitoring being done to ensure compliance with the respective rules. And moving on. Police prosecutor Sean Gonsalves has found himself before the court for allegedly ducking 2 sentence warrants in order to obstruct the course of justice. 35-year-old Sergeant Gonsalves of Tushen Housing Scheme on Wednesday appeared in the Diamond Grove Magistrates Court before Magistrate Sunil Scares. He denied the charge, which alleges that between July 23, 2020 and November 27, 2021 at Diamond East Bank Demerara, he conspired with person or persons unknown to obstruct the course of justice so as to cause the disappearance or to falsely execute 2 warrants in favor of Vishal Munilal. In December of 2021, Vishal Munilal, Deodari Udit, and others were charged for corrupt transaction with an agent and other offenses. The court heard that Munilal and Udit gave information against the prosecutor for his alleged involvement of the ducking of the 2 sentence warrants for Munilal, which was issued by Magistrate Anit Singh at the Georgetown Magistrates Court. And now let's tell you Cecil Jack, the director of the Ministry of Health Drugs Bond located at Diamond, was on Tuesday arrested by police for the alleged theft of medical drugs. We understand that ranks turned up at his workplace and cautioned him. He complied and entered the police pickup and was taken away to the Golden Grove police station. 3 other persons were arrested along with him as well. They were all implicated as participants in a simple larceny that was committed on the bond. Investigators have been working on the case for a while now after it was reported that medicinal drugs were being stolen from the bond. A sting operation was set up by detectives and it resulted in several persons being arrested, including a GDF rank, a doctor, and another employee of the Ministry of Health, Terrence Williams. And I'll tell you, 39-year-old Michael Suklal, a manager with BK Quarries, located along the Mazaruni River, was yesterday remanded for killing his colleague, a 69-year-old truck driver, at their work site on Wednesday last. He was charged with the murder of Pitamber Sharma. He was not required to plead to the indictable charge and is expected to make his next court appearance on April 27th. According to reports, Suklal was one of the 2 persons detained by police after an autopsy had revealed that Sharma was strangled. Sharma was reportedly killed after 18 hours on Wednesday last and his body dumped into the Mazaruni River. His remains were found around 7 hours 20 the following day. And with that, we've come to the end of today's news at noon, but just before we go, we have to head over to the page 7 of today's Kaieteur News. This year, Guyana is celebrating 56 years of independence after breaking colonial ties with the British. But amidst the frolic, our leaders have allowed foreign companies to dictate the management of the country's newfound oil wealth, as well as its other vast natural resources. We must not sit back and allow these companies to dictate the way we manage the oil sector. Instead, we should ensure all steps are taken to break Guyana free from such shackles of oppression. We, as Guyanese, must do so by calling out our leaders when they fail to take the necessary steps and hold them accountable for keeping our resources in bondage. And with that, we've come to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today and watch your dollar grow. Call us on 225-8465 or 226-8210 today.